Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke, and this is the CBC Morning Report. In our top story, the COVID-19 has been in Barbados since March of 2020. And while the National Insurance Scheme has been dealing with layoffs resulting from it, we are yet to see how the pandemic will be treated by the insurance sector. Joining us to discuss the issue is Randy Graham, President of the General Insurance Association of Barbados. Good morning to you, Mr. Graham. Have the companies in Barbados as yet met to look at how COVID will be factored into the future insurance policies and benefits?
Hi, good morning, Wendy. Good morning to your listeners and viewers. The companies haven't met formally as yet to take up a position, but we've obviously been monitoring the situation as it develops. And COVID-19 has been an issue impacting all sectors, insurance sector notwithstanding. I think in the early days, what we all wanted to do was to make sure that the society did not collapse, that we did not have major pressure on the healthcare systems, and so everybody involved did its part to contribute both formally and informally to ensuring that things continue to develop. But as more information comes to hand about how the future may look with living with the COVID-19 virus, we will have to take a position one way or the other in the future how this is to be treated. But we haven't done so as yet.
Okay, well, let's perhaps look at some possibilities and set up some hypothetical situations. In the same way that we have to declare when we're applying for a policy, whether it be health, life, car, what have you, whether or not we have a terminal illness such as cancer, do you see perhaps COVID having to factor in that application process?
More than likely. What we see in the current environment is when we go for medical insurance cover, when you go for life insurance cover, there typically is a question about vaccination. Have you been vaccinated? We have a wide vaccination policy in Barbados for a number of other viruses that we've come through in history. So we expect that question about whether you're vaccinated for COVID or not will come into the play in terms of the application process. And simply because what the information now is telling us is that whereas we may not be able to stop the spread or the contraction of the COVID-19 virus, when you are vaccinated, it impacts the severity of the illness, and that can go from asymptomatic to a mild runny nose, and then in the extreme cases, unfortunately, to ICU and potential death. So the issue of whether you're vaccinated or not will play a factor in the severity of the case, and therefore it will play a factor in the cost associated with it, and will be a question to be asked for probably for everyone going forward.
What about something like long COVID, where people recover from COVID-19 but are still presenting with a number of factors? In an instance like this, would we say perhaps have to pay higher premiums, or maybe perhaps be faced with the idea of refusal on that particular policy that we might want should it go over a certain amount of money?
Yeah, it's still early days yet, but I wouldn't imagine that we will be talking about refusal of coverage for long COVID. I would imagine that when we get to that point, once vaccinations have become more widespread and used, what that means is that the prevalence or the possibility of getting severe cover, or rather getting severe effects of the sickness, is what will drive more the decision rather than long COVID or not. So long COVID, or normal, if you want to call it that, time period for having the COVID virus, will now become the sort of the alternative, the norm of getting long COVID would be the alternative. So that will not be an issue. It would probably more be an issue of the severity, which is what will be a more concern.
Okay. What about those who are unvaccinated, either because of religious reasons or because of other conditions that they might have and be unable to take the vaccine? How do you possibly see the insurance sector treating them in terms of new applications?
Yeah, I think unvaccinated is going to be an issue, and not an issue of discrimination or any other points. It's going to be issues simply because what the information is telling us is if you are unvaccinated, you have an increased likelihood or probability of getting severe effects of the virus. Therefore, the decision of being unvaccinated is one that will impact costs associated with premiums or possibly even your cover. More than likely, because simply it means that an unvaccinated person will have potentially more severe effects from the COVID-19 virus, which could lead to incubation ICUs or other costs, which can run up to the thousands in a day. So it would be an impact on either your coverage or your premium, more than likely into the future, and something that families will have to consider as we shift this cost from a public healthcare cost into a private healthcare cost, and even as the government has to move from a position of 100% funding of these costs into transferring some of the costs back onto the public. It will be an issue of vaccination versus the unvaccinated will become a matter to be discussed.
Okay, my final question to you, Randy. In terms of a time frame, we know COVID is still with us, is still heavy, our numbers are increasing every day. How long before the formal conversation takes place within the sector do you anticipate?
I think what will likely drive that is what we are seeing now. Whereas we are now training the private sector, we are seeing the possibility of those vaccination and those costs moving from a centralized system into the government public sector health system, into privatized and even the cost sharing. As that transition occurs, that's where we're going to have the discussion, because that's when invoicing and expenses become a accountable issue, and a cost transferred off to the patients. We're seeing it in other jurisdictions. So you're seeing in the US that cost shifting is occurring. You're seeing it in the UK, the cost shifting is occurring, and companies, and both normal companies employing staff as well as insurance companies are having to make the decision about where that cost is going to lie. And we are already seeing early indications that there's going to be a distinction between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated costs. So we expect that, as in Barbados, as that discussion moves from all cover and all systems being public health service moving into the private sector, or even if the public health system starts to determine that it needs to charge the individuals who are part of the cost, we'll have to make a decision one way or the other in the sector as to how we treat to that cost.
Okay, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Randy Graham, the president of the Barbados Insurance Association in Barbados. Do have a good morning, and thank you.
Thank you.
Next on CBC Morning Report, updates on the COVID-19 pandemic. The death toll and the number of new COVID-19 cases in Barbados continues to climb. There were 175 new cases recorded on Saturday. They consist of 86 females and 89 males, while 43 people are under the age of 18. There are now 1,037 patients in isolation. Meanwhile, 3 people passed away on Saturday and another on Sunday for the death toll to now stand at 68. They were all females aged 47, 50, 66, and 84 who had comorbidities and were unvaccinated. A total of 132,267 first doses have been administered under the national vaccination program for COVID-19. To date, 101,857 people, which represents 37.6% of the population, have received their second dose and are fully vaccinated. The church is not to be solely blamed for any of the COVID clusters in Barbados. That's the contention of Reverend Dr. Nigel Taylor, the president of the Barbados Evangelical Association. Whilst there have been some church clusters, Dr. Taylor says the church is merely part of the wider society.
The church is simply a gathering of people. It is a microcosm, among other things, but it is a microcosm of the society. If community spread is there, invariably it will wend or find its way in the church. There is no rocket science for that. It is very clear. If it is out there, because the same people that go to the supermarket in the church, the same people that go to the catch the buses are in the church, the same people that go hither, thither, and yon are in the church. So therefore, because it happened in the church, it does not mean the church is the instigator or the church is the demon that thrusts this thing on the community.
Dr. Taylor, who was a guest on the Public Affairs Department's one-on-one program last evening on CBC TV 8, also argued that the entire religious society should not be punished for the COVID clusters in 1 or 2 churches.
If the leadership in churches are not following the protocols, I dare say that it behoves the administration to deal with that church specifically. Don't paint all in one brush. Don't cut the whole branch of the tree because there's a bad fruit on a limb. Take off the bad fruit and let's progress. So I don't think that was the way to handle it, really, because there would have been something, it would be seen as punitive. I think that's where the churches, for the most part, see a lot of this thing happening, because they link it as a punitive action. You're being punished for the indiscretions of maybe 1 or 2 churches.
With Argentina opening back up from their COVID protocols, the World Tango Championships were held over the weekend in Buenos Aires.
Romantics will tell you that the heart of Buenos Aires beats to the rhythm of the tango. The Tango World Cup is held every year in the city where it was born at the end of the 19th century. Last year, it was all virtual. However, tango is all about cheek-to-cheek closeness, and it does not sit well with social distancing. So this year, it was back, both in person and on screen.
The tango is a mirror of what is going on in our society in general. So I truly believe that, of course, it impacts on us.
Tango salons have been closed for a year and a half. While Argentina is now emerging from the pandemic, measures to deal with it are still in place. So while the dancers could get close, they and the spectators were moved to a safer venue.
Tango has always survived and thrived because it's adapted to changing times and circumstances, never more so than now. This version being held in the open air in the heart of Buenos Aires, with all the spectators wearing masks.
It has brought the dance and music back to the streets where it began, closer to the people.
Tango is constantly being composed again and again. We have new composers, new dancers, new stories told.
but old stories told in a new way. The Tango World Cup paid homage to the winner of the 1986 Football World Cup, Diego Maradona, who died last November. Tango is steeped in nostalgia, and one of its most acclaimed dancers, 87-year-old Maria Nieves, reminded the audience that it never forgets its roots. That's reflected in the technique of traditional salon tango, won this year by Agustin Añez and Barbara Ferreira. But it must always say the winners of the choreographed stage tango category look to the future.
People of our age need to be contemporary and reflect what's happening today.
Tango has to keep evolving, just like everything else.
The pandemic may have muffled the music, but the 2x4 beat of the tango goes on, bringing the heart of Buenos Aires alive again.
And it's time for a preview of what's coming up on Morning Barbados. And for that, I say good morning to you, Pearson.
Good morning, Wendy. That was absolutely beautiful, wasn't it? Just watching the tango played out in the World Festival, wasn't it for you?
Oh, yes, it was.
Yes, indeed. Well, coming up this morning on Morning Barbados, we are just about 6 days and enough hours away from the start of UNCTAD 15 as we move towards prosperity for all. Today, we want to look at that last forum just ahead of that big conference, creative industries and trade digitization, and how can both of them leverage us towards being equal among our member states. Also today, we'll check in with Antigua and Barbuda, where there has been a robust discussion, big words being used, a tussle between government and trade unions. And so we want to reach out today to the Director of News at Antigua and Barbuda Broadcasting Services, Garfield Burford. He'll talk to us a little bit about it. He doesn't make the news, he simply tells the news, what's happening in Antigua. And also in our conversations on CARICOM, Ambassador David Comichon will join us as we look ahead at what's big this week in CARICOM news. Just a little tease of what else is to come on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Pearson. We'll see you at the bottom of the hour. Time for another break. We'll be back. Climate change continues to be a major concern, not just locally, but on the regional and international level as well. In fact, it's been described as a crisis that poses an existential threat to human life. And just ahead of the UN COP26 in November, two Barbadian youth advocates will be championing the cause on the world stage. Ashley Lashley and Abigail Johnson are among hundreds of youth from around the world who will attend the 4th Climate Summit in Milan, Italy this week. Abigail, who is the Public Relations Director of Healthy and Environmentally Friendly Youth, says the event will provide delegates with opportunities to put forward proposals on some of the most pressing issues on climate agenda.
And it basically is a conversation between youth and ministers that are going to be attending the Conference of Parties later this year actually. And the first 2 days are dedicated to us working in our FAMATA areas, and the last day is basically a conversation between the ministers and other delegates that will be attending pre-COP and COP26.
The Youth for Climate Summit will take place from tomorrow through Thursday. UNICEF advocate for the Eastern Caribbean and founder of HEY, Ashley Lashley, says it is important for youth from small island developing states to become involved in this global dialogue.
It gives us a great opportunity to discuss issues that are affecting us closely, and that is why I really in support of the intergenerational dialogues that will be taking place at the summit, because oftentimes youth normally go to activities, we normally share our voices, but oftentimes we're not heard and our views are not taken into consideration. But this intergenerational dialogue, which will be taking place at the Youth for Climate Summit, is really important.
As the Clean and Green initiative continues to build momentum across the island, the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification is encouraging Barbadians to get involved for a chance to win $7,000. More in this story from Aaliyah Briggs.
2 acres of land in Blackman, St. Joseph will be cleared and transformed into a recreational green space for the enjoyment of residents in the area. Minister of the Environment and National Beautification Adrian Ford says the project and its tree planting exercise helps improve Barbados' biodiversity and climate resilience. This is why he says it is important for all to get involved.
We are not only coming to tell the Josephines that we are bringing aesthetics to their environment, we are telling them that we are going to help enhance their biodiversity. It is things like this that will help us to commit to our efforts of a green economic recovery. These are the things that will allow us as a small island developing state to say to the rest of the world that Barbados is championing the cause of the Paris Agreement, that Barbados is going to ensure by 2030 that we meet all our sustainable development goals as it relates to greening.
Member of Parliament for St. Joseph, Dale Marshall, says the Clean and Green project enables government to lead by example.
With national housing having done the development, as a government we owe it to the residents, because this stipulation that it be left open requires the residents to get involved. And I think we owe it to the residents to lead by example.
As Arbor Day celebrations continue across Barbados, Deputy General Manager of the National Conservation Commission, Carrie-Ann Jessamy, says the ministry's island-wide tree planting competition is one way for Barbadians to get involved for a chance to win up to $7,000 in cash.
The person that plants the most trees, they get to win a prize of $7,000. NCC continues to be a part of the Clean and Green program, which is the brainchild of Minister Ford, and we are pleased and we commit to this effort.
Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
Anglican Bishop of Barbados, the Right Reverend Michael Maxwell, has told Barbadians that in order to preserve life, we sometimes have to make very tough decisions. Speaking during a sermon at the St. Mary's Anglican Church yesterday, he thanked God for the gift of medical science and those who have been called to the front line in the profession, especially during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. In referencing the virus and using the book of Matthew as a guide, Bishop Maxwell says when negative things afflict us, we must cut them off and do everything possible to eliminate them from our lives.
Even as the coronavirus is currently affecting us directly or indirectly, we have to cut it off or cut it out, prevent its spread and infection across our region, its effect or its impact upon our lives. If it is offending, if it is affecting the body, cut it off. Don't give it a chance to spread or to fester.
He adds that we must also seek to choose life rather than death, and to be wary of the places that we go and the things we choose to do. In this regard, he says our limbs and our organs can be used for good or bad, and he gave an example using the feet.
But these feet can also be used to take us into places where we shouldn't be, and find ourselves in the wrong place at the wrong time, like that of trespassing on someone's property, or like going to hang out in places to engage in witchcraft or illegal activity, or to places that disregard the observance even today of the COVID-19 protocols and expose us to serious dangers in life.
The volcano eruptions on La Palma Island in the Canary Islands have not eased up after 8 days. We have a report.
The church of El Paso on the foothills of Cumbre Vieja in Spain's La Palma Island. With each explosion comes a prayer for those who have lost their homes, another for the people of El Paso, and for the island of La Palma experiencing disaster.
I am here trying to find some peace and to find the strength to accept this new reality of ours.
It started last Sunday as a small eruption. Look at it now. The crater is widening, showing cracks, with the overflowing lava turning this once green landscape into ash. 6,000 people have been displaced, homes, businesses, and places of worship. The lava is swallowing entire villages in its path.
Spain's Guardia Civil are extending the cordon around the volcanic eruption, and while the village here of El Paso has not been evacuated, this could change at any moment's notice, because this is what's worrying authorities here. It's as if the village is slowly being buried under a thick blanket of ash.
The volcanic cloud has created a microclimate with ash falling like rain. Levels of sulfur dioxide in the air is suffocating in some areas, forcing people to leave their homes unaware if they will ever be able to come back.
The trauma of loss is immense. It's not just one person losing everything. It can be an entire generation from grandparents to their grandchildren. They are in shock, going through various phases of grief, from denial to sadness and anger to a changing environment.
With the environment they once knew suddenly lost, the volcanic eruption has left the people of La Palma scarred and in grief. Nature has taken its course from the ashes of their home. Already, a new landscape is forming.
In sports, Dwayne Bravo and the Chennai Super Kings are the new leaders of the 2021 IPL, and they've also qualified for the playoffs. This after a thrilling 2-wicket win over the Kolkata Knight Riders yesterday. Batting first, the Knight Riders put 171 for 6 on the board, with Rahul Tripathi making 45 from 33 balls. Andre Russell added 20. In reply, needing 26 from 2 overs, player of the match Ravindra Jadeja knocked 20 from 4 balls before he went LBW to Sunil Narain in the last over with 1 run required. Deepak Chahar then stroked the winning ball to take the Super Kings on 16 points along with the Delhi Capitals, but CSK have a superior net run rate. Here are the highlights. Try to keep their playoff hopes alive when they take on Jason Holder and the already eliminated Sunrisers Hyderabad. And it's time now for a look at our weather picture. Let's just see how it will be. In Barbados right now, it is fair at 25.4 degrees Celsius, but it feels like 29. The humidity stands at 91%. Barometric pressure 1013.9 millibars, winds from the east-southeast at 26 kilometers per hour. And the tides, low tide will be at 12:50 p.m., high tide at 7:50 a.m., and another high tide at 7:05 p.m. In the seas, it will be smooth to moderate in open water, ranging from 1 to 2 meters and increasing. forecast for today, mostly cloudy to overcast with the occasional intermittent scattered moderate to heavy showers and a very slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. Tonight is expected to be a mix of clear skies with cloudy periods with a few brief scattered light showers. And here now is a look at the forecast in our international cities. That was today's morning report. Our next newscast on TV8 will be at noon, Newsday. We now join Pearson Bowen for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone, everywhere. Welcome to today, Monday, the 27th of September 2021. I am Pearson Bowen, welcoming all of you watching us right here in beautiful Barbados on your TV screens. Grateful, as always, for your company. Or if you're watching us via our YouTube channel or our Facebook streams, thank you from across the world, from all of us right here in beautiful Barbados. Today being Monday, it's also Founders Week for the Ellerslie School. We'll hear from them how they're marking this significant milestone. It's also National Youth Week. And so we'll be checking in with the Division of Youth to find out how they too are interacting with the young people this week and what are some of the programs that young people can engage with and in. Also, what would you do if you stepped into your yard, you looked into the maybe it's the lime tree, the ackee tree, whatever tree it is in your yard, and you see a big long iguana? Who do you call? Not Ghostbusters for sure, but there's an organization you can call for some relief and some help there where that's concerned as well. So we'll share that with you a little later on today on Morning Barbados. Of course, your chance to win with Crumbs Bakery. We're 6 days and many hours away from the start of UNCTAD 15, that big global conference. It's a virtual conference with the theme From Inequality and Vulnerability to Prosperity for All. Leading up to that forum, which starts on the 3rd of October, leading up to that conference, which starts on the 3rd of October, are a number of fora. And so today we want to look at the next forum, which would look at creative industries and trade digitization. Joining us to talk a little bit more about that are the lead organizers in Adrian Green and Annalie Babb. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning, Pearson.
Thank you so much for joining us. Good, thank you, gentlemen and lady. Now, let's look at this upcoming forum that you're going to be hosting, your lead organizers for. It's also, by the way, United Nations International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. Do you get the sense that we've had a year that focused on the creative economy as part of sustainable development?
I would say that the simple answer to that, Pearson, is no. And that is because of the serious times that we're living in and the disruption of the COVID-19 situation. The kind of focus that the creative industries would have gotten over the past year, especially in Barbados, as we all know, has not been there. So this is a time to rethink and relook and come again, really.
And so that will form part of what this forum will be about. Think about it and come again. So Annalie, how do you see the forum being played out so that it makes meaningful difference and meaningful change?
Well, as Adrian said, we have the real challenge of COVID-19. A lot of people are out of work and so many things are moving to digital platforms. So in our view, this was a perfect time. These two forums originally were to be two separate forums. And Adrian and I decided why not combine them into one, because the notion of digital platforms and the digitization of everything could really support creatives and even technological innovators in figuring out how to navigate this very difficult time.
We've seen creatives struggle, though, at this time, given the closure and the different processes that have been put in place to restrict movement and the like. But they're also sitting in their rooms and they are coming up with concepts. They're finding spaces in which their work can be seen and heard. And so, Adrian, you're one of those creatives as well. How are we now using the digital platform to be able to leverage ourselves, and what do you see to be the real benefit in doing so?
It is a complex situation, Pearson, because you're quite correct. The creatives I know are some of the most resilient and by nature creative people I know. And many of them have not just been sitting waiting, they've been trying new things and taking their work online and trying new avenues, some even outside of the creative industries. But the issue is that we have become accustomed as a people to getting content for free online. And the avenues for payment for creatives in Barbados are restricted in many ways, sometimes artificially restricted. So it has been a challenge. While the world has moved to a digital environment, content is king. The environment in Barbados still has not become totally conducive to creatives making money in the way that they could, were we to structure ourselves in a more forward-thinking way. So these are some of the things that we're going to discuss at the Creative Industries Forum. In addition to that, even outside of Barbados, the platform, content may be king, but the platforms are what is making the money. So you put your stuff up, for instance, on YouTube, and YouTube makes a lot of money off of your content before you ever make a cent. So there are a lot of issues that we need to address. The payment streams and the avenues, the fintech that needs to come on board in order for persons from outside of Barbados to give their money to Barbadian creatives so Barbados can benefit. That is something else that needs to be addressed. So it's not a simple situation at all. It's not as simple as, all right, I can go online and make money.
Yes.
I wish it would, but that's not the case.
We're talking about prosperity for all, leveraging the digital platforms to be able to do so. And so, Annalie, let's look at that, because that's one of the areas that you have particular interest in. How are access is one of the considerations. The cost is going to be another consideration for any creative who wants to be able to place their work in that space. So what kinds of discussions would you like to see happen in this forum so that we have, again, a roadmap forward to really make leveling the playing field for all?
See, that's a wonderful question. Adrian and I were committed to not just having a talk shop, but to what are we actually practically going to do to move forward after this forum. And one of the things that we are very much committed to is the theme of one of our sessions, which is creating our own intersections. I have argued for many years, and you used the key word, Pearson, access. And I have argued for many years that access is not just about technology. There are different layers of access. And for us, the ultimate layer of access is what I called enlightened access, which is about content creation, solutions creation, innovation, which is essentially having an idea, but an idea is not enough. How do you commercialize the idea and create actual value from it that people recognize as value and will pay for? So what we need to do is create our own intersections. And Adrian and I have had lots of conversations and plan to continue not just the conversations, but practical solutions, working with both the tech sector and the creative sector in Barbados to bring about those intersections. Several of our sessions, for example, people might argue that in this age where people can't gather or go to a movie theater or live theater, that theater is dead. And we have argued, no, it's not. We can take theater to digital landscapes and digital platforms. And one of our co-collaborators, Mrs. Michelle Hinkson-Cox, has produced a wonderful session during the forum called Tales in the Forest. So we encourage people to think a little more outside of the box of how can we intersect theater and music and makeup and, you know, actors and film and tech and so on, bring those intersections together and move people into digital platforms where they can still make livelihoods and also engage the world.
I think we're at the stage where we can bring our talent and our creativity, but we need to also come with a clear mind. Because if we hold on to those old structures, we go nowhere. But now we're intersecting the new concepts, the new ideas, the new spaces, the dreams of a Caribbean people, and a worldwide people, because the forum is not just for Barbadians or the Caribbean people alone, it's for everyone. And so if we can all come into that fertile space, imagine what could come from that. Now, the forum starts on the 29th. It runs until the 1st of October, just before the start of UNCTAD. What do you want to be able, Adrian, I'll start with you. What do you want to be able, at the end of it, to be able to advance to that greater forum from October 3rd to 7th that really concretizes the way forward?
That's a great question, Pearson. And what we have envisioned with the Creative Industries and Trade Digitization Forum is that for nations like ours, like Barbados, small developing nations, we have an immense of talent and creative raw material that is untapped. And all that it needs in order to impact the world in a major way is, as you said, the new thinking and the new frameworks which allow it to be broadcast and to be beamed across the world and to be monetized in a fair and equitable way. So this requires the intellectual property frameworks as well. So what we will be advancing towards the UNCTAD conference is some ideas taken from these sessions which we put together on a wide range of issues, which we hope will allow us to do just that.
Annalie, what's your take on that?
Well, my take is something that we have spent a lot of time studying and thinking about. The theme of our forum is inequality at the root. And I think that there are times that people do not really appreciate the embedded inequality in global structures in all of these platforms that make it very challenging for small island developing states and developing countries to be players in the game. And so one of the things that I think is important for UNCTAD to acknowledge is that inequality within global technological structures and the creative industries that create a situation where more countries start off, in a sense, on the back foot. And how do we equalize? How do we bring the resources, which is not just money, but people and ideas and intellectual capital together so that we can really leverage that within our countries.
Right.
So that's my take, is inequality is embedded in our global systems, in creative and cultural systems, and technological systems as well. But we need to unleash all of the wonderful ideas and creativity that we have in our countries and take it to the world.
I join both of you on your particular points of view. I hope that we do reach those outcomes as well. And I'm looking forward to everyone participating in this forum, which starts on the 29th and runs until the 1st of October. And that we earn and we learn better, really, how we can support our creatives and how we can use that digital space to be able to leverage ourselves, as Adrian has also been saying, to make money from it as well. Thanks both of you, Adrian Green and Annalie Ma, both lead organizers for the upcoming forum on creative industries and trade digitization, all in the lead up to UNCTAD 15. Thanks both of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Take care.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And don't forget, folks, you can go to unctad15.org and sign up to participate in these forums. They're open to everyone, everywhere. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, there's much more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 13 and a half minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock on Morning Barbados, and we're happy to go across the seas to our brothers and sisters in Antigua and Barbuda as we keep an eye on how COVID-19 has been playing out in their territory too. And we've recently been hearing some very robust conversations in public spaces there. And so we're joined this morning by the Director of News, Sports and Current Affairs with the Antigua and Barbuda Broadcasting Services, Garfield Burford. Garfield, good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Pearson. Good morning to your audience as well. And let's hope that all is fine and you're keeping safe.
Thus far, all is fine and we're keeping safe. We wish the same for you as well. Now,
indeed,
we have been seeing, I was going to say the war of words, but that's not necessarily the case at all. We've been seeing what's been happening in Antigua. We've heard some very strong pushback from the unions, but we're also hearing some very strong words from the Prime Minister. Put into context, what's happening, what are the dynamics that are going on there?
Right, so let's bring your audience up to speed in terms of what's happened. The government of Prime Minister Gaston Brown has indicated clearly the government has gone the route of mandatory vaccination. And so as of the 20th of September, so last week Monday, all public servants who are unvaccinated were required to stay home until they have at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, if they have the Johnson & Johnson, which is also available here, then of course that is perfectly fine because that's a single dose. But they're required to have at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, otherwise they stay home. However, here is the most important part. Whereas they will be paid for the remainder of September, as of the 1st of October, that's Friday coming, they will start to lose pay for each day that they stay home unvaccinated. So then their pay, their salaries and wages become affected as of the 1st of October. Not only for those in the public service, but there are other groups as well. So for example, taxi operators would also be impacted as of the 1st of October as well. If they fail to get vaccinated, they might have some sort of restrictions to their operation, their routes of operation, etc. But clearly, the biggest element would, of course, relate to public servants. That's about 13,000 public servants. Generally, the government is the biggest employer here. The government accounts for a significant amount of economic activity. So the Prime Minister has indicated that the government is going to be resolute about it. The unions have pushed back. Some have indicated that they might be taking the government to court on the matter. Bear in mind, by the way, that the government has received the advice from the former CCJ president, Sir Dennis Byron, and as well Professor Rosemary Bell-Antwine, who have indicated that mandatory vaccination is allowable and is countenanced in the constitutions of Caribbean countries, and especially in the OCS, there are specific carve-outs, there are specific references to infectious diseases so in other words, it's almost as if based on the CCJ, based on the advice from Sir Dennis and Professor Bell-Antwine, the OECS countries have perhaps even more legal footing than even some other countries in the Caribbean region. So the government, standing on that firm legal footing, has stood its ground, notwithstanding the pushback, notwithstanding the torrent of criticism in certain quarters, and has said that it will continue to abide by the policy of mandatory vaccination. So that's essentially the lay of the land as we speak at this point. Since that has been announced, there has been a sharp rise in the number of people who are getting it. For example, over the last few days, certainly since last week, even on the weekend, in fact, around about 1,557 people were vaccinated just between Saturday and Sunday. So there's been a sharp rise in the number of vaccinations as a result, and that's mostly as a result of the policy announced by the government.
I know across the world there have been some what we call anti-vaxxers and some protests going on as well to agitate against mandatory vaccinations. Are you seeing that, and to what level are you seeing it in Antigua?
Right, so there's a certain level of vaccine hesitancy. I don't think all of it is being driven by anti-vaxxers per se. I think that is not a monolithic kind of group of individuals. It's not a homogeneous group. There are individuals who have not taken the vaccine who are hesitant for various reasons. Some believe that they still have questions that they want answered. They want, for example, more public education. They want, for example, more assurances from their medical professionals. Some are a little bit undecided because of what they've been hearing on social media. So they are not 100% clear whether or not they should go ahead and get vaccinated. And others are pretty firm in their position that they will not take the vaccine under any circumstance at all. Bear in mind, I should go back to indicate very quickly, Pearson, on the matter of the mandatory vaccination policy. There are exceptions. So, for example, for public servants who can show a medical exemption, who can show that they have a medical reason why they cannot be vaccinated, that is fine. Once they show proof that, you know, for example, coming from their medical practitioner, then that will be fine. There are also religious exemptions. For example, the Rastafari community is well known for its philosophical and religious resistance to vaccination and opposition to vaccination. So those, for example, are the two exemptions in terms of the medical and religious. But so generally, there is that level of vaccine hesitancy for various reasons. And the Prime Minister said there is a lot of it is really driven by people who are not necessarily following the science. It might just be individuals who are following what they see on social media, they hear on social media, and it is a kind of frivolous opposition to vaccination. And he says, look, that is standing in the way of the country getting to herd immunity, because it's almost as if the vaccination process has reached a point of inertia, and there has to be something has to give. Right. And the government had been hinting at mandatory vaccination before, Pearson. Now it has actually gone the way of doing that. I should also tell you that as of the 1st of October as well, travel restrictions come into place that require that all individuals coming into the country, including returning nationals and residents, will be required to have at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine.
And how has that played out in the international markets? What responses are you hearing to that initiative?
Right. I think that has been perhaps a little less, people have been a little bit less vocal about that announcement, certainly compared to the issue of mandatory vaccination for public servants. There have been some howls of concerns in some quarters, but certainly not at the levels of not at the decibel level that we've heard in terms of the mandatory vaccination policy. But there's some concern. There is, of course, a large segment of the population, or a significant segment of the population, who say, look, these measures might be tough, they might be politically unpalatable, but something had to give. There had to be some sort of move, some sort of firm decision by the government, given that there had been this inertia almost in the public vaccination program. And also, there was a rising chorus of individuals, a rising chorus from vaccinated individuals, Pearson, who say, look, what about our rights to be, or our privileges? What we expected to be the privileges that we get from being vaccinated willingly, for example, jumping at the opportunity at the first without any sort of incentives. What about what we should be enjoying? We should be enjoying certain privileges because we are vaccinated. And so essentially we're being held back by individuals who are not. And so I think that there is also a chorus of that from within the milieu of the society as well. So different voices, and I suppose depending on who you speak with, you'll get a different opinion. And I think that there has been in the public space a contending of the views, but I think the government has been very firm in its position and has held its ground that it will not be swayed, essentially.
Paint for us the picture. We see rising cases here in Barbados every day. What's happening in Antigua, and how many people are in isolation, and what is the concern among the population about the spread of the virus?
Right. So as most Caribbean countries, certainly as in the case in Barbados, Pearson, there has been a sharp rise in COVID-19 cases and deaths here. That's a frightening part. Let's not be coy about it. There has the health system, the public health system has been under pressure. What has happened is that now we have just under 1,000 cases. Or a few days ago, we were over 1,000 active cases, that is. So we were about 1,027 or so active cases. Thankfully, we're just dipped below 1,000 to we're now 977. That's the latest dashboard from the health ministry. 56 individuals are in hospital. 56 of the 977 active cases in hospital. 15 in severe condition. 3 moderate, about 38 mild. Now, there have been at least 64 deaths so far, and possibly at least one more to be confirmed later today. So we've had 64 deaths so far, and there's been a sharp rise in fact, in the last 2 weeks or so, we've had about 16 of those deaths occurring. So there's been a sharp rise in the number of deaths in a very, very short time. That has spooked many people in the populace who say, look, something has to give. I suppose that has also contributed to some level of support for the government's mandatory vaccination policy in some quarters at least, because people are saying the circumstances warrant the kind of extreme measures. Extreme circumstances warrant extreme measures. Look, Prime Minister has indicated this is not going to be politically palatable. In fact, he's risking some political capital on it. He's saying, look, ultimately, we're banking on, or we're essentially hanging our political fortunes on this policy. But he says ultimately it's about ensuring that his government sees the bigger picture, that his government shows love and concern for the populace, almost essentially nudging people, cajoling people to do what's in their best interests. And he's saying that history ultimately will prove that his administration did the right thing, despite possibly being unpopular at the point.
We're tracking the number of young people as well here who are positive and the number of young people who are being vaccinated. So what can you say is the process there and the progress in Antigua?
Right. And just yesterday, Pearson, we had the opportunity, by the way, at ABS to be hosting an OECS simulcast. The program is called COVID-19 Vaccines, A Healthy Dose of the Facts, pun intended, of course. And what that program did, so it was broadcast across the OECS. What that program did was to give us a sense of what's happening across the sub-region. We had an update from our Chief Medical Officer in Antigua and Barbados, Dr. Rhonda Seeley Thomas, who said up to yesterday, the very latest information she had was that 4,000 young people between the ages of 12 and 17 were vaccinated as of yesterday. 4,000. Significant number. Of course, that was with the advent of the Pfizer vaccine, Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine becoming available here in Antigua and Barbados for that. There are 5 vaccine options here, by the way: Pfizer-BioNTech, AstraZeneca, Sinopharm, Sputnik V, and the one-dose Johnson & Johnson. So that has really given a fillip to the public vaccination program. So yes, there has been an uptick. Many parents, for example, have sought the advice of their medical practitioners. And what has happened as well, Pearson, is that in some cases, some parents have actually gone with their children to get vaccinated. So while their child between 12 and 17 is getting vaccinated, they're also getting vaccinated as parents as well. So that has really helped to drive the vaccination process as well. What has also happened is that the government has been very clear that teachers also have to be vaccinated before they're able to return to face-to-face classes. That's caused quite a stir in the teachers' union. In fact, recently the teachers' union had an extraordinary meeting, a virtual meeting, and most of those who were present at that virtual meeting voted against mandatory vaccination. But the government, again, remaining unfazed, saying that it's about ensuring that it has a responsibility to provide a safe working environment, safety for all stakeholders, safety for the parents, safety for the children and teachers, and in the case of the public service generally, a safe working environment for all. It says it stands on logic, it stands on the law, and it stands on good health practice by making this policy. So yes, so generally there have been, as I said, mixed reactions, but you could say that one of the favorable upshots of what has happened in terms of this policy is that it has driven vaccination numbers. In fact, the country is now beyond the 40,000 mark for fully vaccinated individuals. That's about 40% of the population, considering that there are about 100,000 individuals in Antigua and Barbados.
That's great news. Garfield, we're up against time. We have to leave it right there. Garfield Burford, who is the Director of News, Sports and Current Affairs with Antigua and Barbuda Broadcasting Services. Please say good morning to Ernest Brathwaite for us here in Barbados as well. And I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Good to be with you, Pearson. All the very best to you.
Likewise. Morning Barbados continues with the news right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Time for us now to take another look at the news. For that look, here's Wendy Burke.
Thank you, Pearson. Continuing with news, climate change continues to be a major concern, not just locally, but also regionally and internationally. In fact, it's been described as a crisis that poses an existential threat to human life. And just ahead of the UNCOP26 in November, two Barbadian youth advocates will be championing the cause on the world stage. Ashley Lashley and Abigail Johnson are among hundreds of youth from around the world who will attend the Youth for Climate Summit in Milan, Italy this week. Abigail, the Public Relations Director of Healthy and Environmentally Friendly Youth, says the event will provide for delegates, the opportunity to put forward proposals on some of the most pressing issues which are on the climate agenda.
And it basically is a conversation between youth and ministers that are going to be attending the Conference of Parties later this year, actually. And the first 2 days are dedicated to us working in our formative areas, and the last day is basically a conversation between the ministers and other delegates that will be attending pre-COP and COP26.
The church is not solely to be blamed for any of the COVID clusters in Barbados. That's the contention of Reverend Dr. Nigel Taylor, the president of the Barbados Evangelical Association. Whilst there have been some church clusters, Dr. Taylor says the church is merely a part of the wider society.
The church is simply a gathering of people. It is a microcosm, among other things, but it is a microcosm of the society. If community spread is there, invariably it will lend or find its way in the church. There is no rocket science for that. It is very clear. If it is out there, because the same people that go to the supermarket in the church, the same people that go to the catch the buses are in the church, the same people that go hither, thither, and yon are in the church. So therefore, because it happened in the church, it does not mean the church is the instigator or the church is the demon that thrusts this thing on the community.
The BCA 2021 season remains postponed until further notice. The Barbados Cricket Association held a meeting with representatives of clubs and other stakeholders over the weekend. Afterwards, the BCA posted on their Instagram page that the latest setback is pending an update from the government on the status of team sports during the existing protocols for COVID-19. The cricket season was originally due to begin on September 11th. And finally, Germany's center-left Social Democrats have claimed victory in the federal election, beating out the party, the Christian Democratic Union, of the outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel. The SPD leader, Olaf Scholz, said he had a clear mandate to form a government, while his conservative rival Armin Laschet remains determined to fight on. The two parties have governed together for years. Mr. Scholz says it's time for a new coalition with the Greens and the Liberals. The final vote saw the SPD winning 206 seats to CDU's 196. The Greens secured 118 and the FDP 92. Well, that's it from me, Pearson. It's now back to Morning Barbados.
Thank you, Wendy. It is now 5.5 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're going to take a break here and we're back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So we're approaching 7 minutes after 7 o'clock now. Time for you to call me to win with Crumbs Bakery today. The numbers to call are 228-5562 or 228-5563 because here comes today's Crumbs question of the day. Get it right and you're good to go. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What is today's Crumbs question of the day? Your question today is, what is Crumbs' IG handle? IG meaning Instagram. What is Crumbs' Instagram handle? Do you know? Well, 228-5562 or 228-5563. Prove to me that you know it. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What is Crumbs Bakery's Instagram handle? I guess a younger person will know that for sure. What is Crumbs Bakery's Instagram handle? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Remember, there's a Crumbs Bakery location very near to you. Seek it out and you get some of those delicious Crumbs baked products. Cakes, the breads, the pastries, everything right in there in Crumbs Bakery. You will find it is very tasty, right down to the very last gram. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. What is Crumbs Bakery's Instagram handle? Waiting on you to call. Waiting on you to call. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Where are you watching us from, sir?
Christchurch.
Alrighty. What's your answer for me?
Crumbs Bakery, Barbados.
Crumbs Bakery, Barbados?
Yes. CRUMBC Bakery BDS.
So what's Crumbs Bakery's IG handle? Hello? He gone? Mr. Christchurch, did you put down on me? Mr. Christchurch, did you put down on me? Mr. Christchurch, don't put down on me like that again. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. I hope you weren't disconnected, unfortunately, but let's try for another call. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. Where are you watching from?
Christchurch.
You in Christchurch too? Do you know that gentleman who just called?
I didn't hear, sorry.
Oh, you didn't hear his voice? Okay, no problem. So what's your answer to the question today?
At Crumbs Bakery BDS.
And what makes you so absolutely certain? Because you sound as if you are.
You had this question before.
And what does that mean? You don't think the Instagram handle could have changed?
No, it didn't.
Oh? Do you have Instagram?
Yes, please.
What is your handle? Sweet Girl 246, right? Sweet Girl 246. I just renamed you. No problem. You're absolutely right. It is Crumbs Bakery BDS. That is the IG handle for Instagram for Crumbs Bakery. You're so right, Miss Christchurch. What's your first name?
Rosemary.
You're Rosemary?
Yes.
Oh, well, Rosemary, good to meet you this morning. You know, there's a flower, there's a herb, there's a... What else can we use to describe you, Rosemary? It's early morning.
Leave that for another time.
Rosemary, thank you so much. Stay on the line. Don't put that. We'll take some other information from you. Congratulations. She's absolutely right. Crumbs Bakery BDS is the Instagram handle right there. Alrighty, folks. She's fun, isn't she? We're going to take a break right here. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 12 minutes now after 7 o'clock as we turn our attention to our conversations on CARICOM. And to join us to have those conversations, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Commichon. Good morning to you, Ambassador Commichon.
Good morning, Pearson. It's a pleasure to be here.
As always, thank you so much for coming through. Now, what a week it has been in CARICOM. What a week indeed. And a lot of it has been played out on the global stage, which has made us hugely proud to see our leaders really confront the issues and be able to speak to those issues in those global spaces, including Barbados Prime Minister. Now, one of the things I think that rivets a lot of us when the Prime Minister speaks so well, she is at her oratory skills. She is really good, but she asked some pointing questions. I want us to take a look at the beginning of her speech, and then we'll come back and talk about it right after. Take a look at this, folks. For our technical crew, can help me out here so we can get a sense of what Prime Minister Motley would have said at the beginning of her speech at the recently held UN General Conference in New York. If you can't, just let me know. But I know she made some very strong points, Ambassador. What do you think?
The Assembly will hear
How would you assess
an
her
address by
speech,
Her
first of
Excellency
all?
Mia Amor Motley, Minister for
hope
National Security
Barbadians
and
are
the Civil
aware of the role that our leader and our country is now playing in world affairs. My understanding is that Prime Minister Motley's speech was the second most viewed speech of any leader at the United Nations General Assembly. I understand that the only speech that had more views than hers was the speech of the President of India. And of course, India has a population of 1 billion people, so you could understand that. But there's no doubt that our Prime Minister has emerged as the moral political leader of the world. You listen to that speech. Global, moral, strategic leadership. And she was very clear. Global, because our problems are global. Moral, because we must do the right thing. And strategic, because we can't solve all the problems at one time. But we must focus on and solve those that are within our grasp to serve. And that first speech was a real speech for the times, really, calling the world to order, pointing out with a deep sense of responsibility what are some of the life and death challenges facing the entire Mother Earth, climate change, COVID-19, but also the life and death challenges facing developing countries like those of the Caribbean and Africa. And she very poignantly invoked two popular songs. She invoked Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind.
Yes.
How many times? The answer, my friend, and John King's How Many More? How many more? And she kept asking these questions. How many times? How many more? How many more COVID-19 deaths? How many more variants? How many more surges before we come together and devise a world plan to vaccinate every single adult and bring this pandemic under control? How much more profit do the major technology firms need to make? They're already worth something like $8 trillion. How much more profit do they need to make before we can realize that every single child in this world is entitled to online education, is entitled to have the tablet that would make that education possible for them? And it was a very poignant and moving speech, a speech with a deep sense of responsibility for the predicament that this world is in, and sending a clarion call as to what we need to do if we are to avert the looming, the disasters that are looming ahead of us. And I want Barbadians to look. Prime Minister Harold Barrow, first time he spoke at the United Nations, he said when Barbados first became independent, we will be friends of all, satellites of none. In other words, we will be a small country that is not afraid to speak truth to power, to stand on principle. Prime Minister Motley is living out that motto that Prime Minister Barrow for us.
Right. You know, she also put squarely the situation in the Caribbean. Haiti, one of those who we need to continue paying attention to because they continue to reel under the effects of natural disasters and other forms of plundering, really, of who they are as a rich nation. Talk to me a little bit about where we are now in relation to Haiti and what can the world still do to step up to assist Haiti?
Yes, she asked the question, how many more times will we come to this General Assembly and talk about the plight of Cuba, meaning obviously the U.S. embargo against Cuba, and the plight of Haiti, the injustices that have been done to Haiti over the years. And that speech coincided with something very remarkable that happened last week in relation to Haiti. The U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti resigned last week.
Yes.
And he sent a letter of resignation to the U.S. Secretary of State. Explaining why he resigned. And every citizen of the world, certainly every citizen of the Caribbean, needs to read that letter because this man was brutally honest. He was brutally honest about the flawed U.S. policy to Haiti over so many decades that has resulted in Haiti being virtually a failed state with thousands of Haitian refugees massing at the border of the United States. And he said that he was so disgusted with the unjust treatment, the deportation of these Haitian refugees back to a country in which gangs are rampant, poverty is rampant, and he was not prepared to go along with this anymore. And I am hoping that we have now reached a stage where we will finally get a real substantive solution for Haiti. CARICOM, we have a member state, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that's a member of the UN Security Council. And I think, therefore, we have an excellent opportunity to use the United Nations Security Council to get them to come to terms with the reality of the crisis in Haiti and finally come up with a real international development plan that can truly deal with the crisis situation in Haiti and give hope to the Haitian people so that they don't feel that they need to flee Haiti and become refugees. So that's my hope, Pearson. We are talking about it in CARICOM. Prime Minister Gonzalez is thinking along those lines as Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Security Council. And I guess we will see in the next couple of weeks what will emerge. But I'm hopeful that finally something of real substance as a solution will emerge for Haiti.
It hurt a lot of our hearts, really, when we saw the images of Haitians, some with babies on hips, carrying them across, fording large bodies of water just to get some relief, be it food, diapers, and the like. And so I know that's why the U.S. envoy resigned, because he was hurt by what he saw as well, and how they lacked in compassion for those who were coming to the border and say, hey, take me in, I need some help. So that's one of the things we're going to keep an eye on. But coming up on Wednesday, there's that high-level meeting that commemorates the 20th anniversary of the UN World Conference Against Racism.
Wednesday.
That was last Wednesday? Where did time slipped away from me?
Again, Yeah, no, and again, we had in a sense 2 keynote addresses at that conference. Sir Hilary Beckles, he gave a keynote address, and Prime Minister Motley again. It wasn't scheduled to be a keynote address, but it turned out being a keynote address. I've been trying to get a copy of the video, Pearson.
Yes.
The video has not been available, but I expect to get it sometime today. But that's an address by Prime Minister Motley that, again, needs to be played on CBC TV so that the entire Barbadian public can hear the message delivered by the Prime Minister. But, you know, Barbados played a very, very important role in the United Nations World Conference Against Racism back in 2001. Both Prime Minister Motley and Sir Hilary played very important roles. Along with myself, we were all very involved in crafting that conference and the outcomes of that conference. And so they were both able to go there at the United Nations on Wednesday, reflecting on the 20-year journey, on some of the progress made since 2001, and pointing towards the next phase in this reparations cause, the coming together of the Caribbean and Africa, of the African Union and CARICOM, to, in a sense, take firmer control of this reparations campaign and bring it to a phase where we finally, probably under the auspices of the United Nations and a United Nations process, to be able to sit down, our leaders, our African and Caribbean leaders, to finally be able to sit down with the leaders of the liable Western countries that were implicated in enslavement and colonization to work out a package of reparations. And for us, you know, a package of reparations isn't about individual cash payments. It's about developmental programs,
right?
Capital transfers, debt cancellations, about recognizing and respecting the right to development that the black and brown peoples and nations of this world now possess, because for hundreds of years they were plundered and looted, and the fruits of their labor were siphoned off to develop European families and companies and institutions and governments and nations. And so it was very promising to hear both Prime Minister Motley and Sir Hilary with the same strategy. And that strategy is heading in the direction Africa and the Caribbean coming together to take control of this issue and take it forward.
All right, so very, very briefly, what's on the calendar for this week?
Well, we are looking forward now towards UNCTAD. UNCTAD is the next big thing. I think it starts on the 3rd of October. So our leaders would have come back from New York over the weekend. I guess a little breather before getting into the action. But even in Barbados, we have with us this week the president and chairman of the board of directors of Africa's Import-Export Bank and a whole delegation. And so there's always something on the CARICOM calendar, or on the Barbados calendar as we reach out to other Caribbean countries and to the African continent. Yeah. But the next big thing is that United Nations Conference on Trade and Development that is being held right here in Barbados. And I want to remind everybody, including CBC, of that excellent UNCTAD Youth Forum that our young people organized about a week ago. And I think a lot of what was recorded at that youth forum really needs to be repeated on CBC television, because there was a lot of real substance that our young people put together, and it would be a shame if it isn't further exposed to the Barbadian and Caribbean people.
All right. All right, thank you so much, Ambassador Commichon, for again joining us this morning for our continuing conversations on CARICOM. We look forward to, if it be God's will, for us to connect again to have another conversation next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pearson. My pleasure.
You're very welcome. 27 minutes after 7 o'clock, a break, and when we're back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
29 minutes after 7 o'clock now, as we turn our attention to the celebrations at the Ellerslie School, as this week they mark Founders Week. Joining us to talk a little bit more about what's on the calendar is a teacher there, Mr. Akeem Griffith. Good morning to you, Mr. Griffith.
Good morning, Mr. Pearson Boy.
Or
I want to say good morning.
Go ahead.
I want to say good morning to the Ellerslie family, current students, parents, past students, parents, and lastly both current and past staff, and along with Barbados. Good morning.
How many years are you marking this week?
We are marking, if I am correct, we'll be just about 55, if I'm correct.
That's fantastic. What a celebration indeed, because there's so many outstanding people who've gone through the hallowed halls, really, of the Ellerslie School. And so this week you're taking time not only to recognize them, but to also allow them to help you continue to bring greater light to the great work at Ellerslie School. What is it that you do there?
Well, I am a science teacher there, and this year I happen to also be a member of the Founders Week Committee. And we are really elated and really rejoicing for the fact that we are going to have the opportunity to bring past with present. And so hence our team, Building Lasting Bridges. So I would have said a special good morning to the past students, parents, staff, and we want them to be just as involved as the current Ellerslie family.
So, building lasting bridges, past and present. And so today, we had a church service yesterday virtually. Today, now you're having, what's going on today? Motivational Monday.
Yes, please. And as the name says, it says it all. It's Motivational Monday. And what it's going to say is that we're going to engage some prominent old scholars who are currently in their careers and at the peak. And we're going to ask them to come in and share with our student population some motivational tips. You know, so many times it's the teacher teaching, but life is a lot more involved than that. People, the public can also teach. And we're really driving that home to our students. And we're focusing, like we said, on the old scholars, past students, teachers, all who are associated with Ellerslie.
Now you said come in, but you know, school is now virtual. So how are they going to come in to be a part of the Motivational Monday today?
Oh yes, that was a big thing for us in the fact that we are no longer into the face-to-face arena. We're now online, but our school has championed that for a very long time, since actually 2016. So we're going to have a whole suite of virtual presentations, interviews included, and we're also going to take it another step further. where our students are going to be exposed to virtual challenges.
Oh, so virtual motivation, virtual challenges as well. This sounds like it's going to be a whole week of fun for you. And would that be played out just today, or would it be played out, the virtual challenges, all week long?
Well, the virtual challenges go for the entire week, but each day we have a particular topic or area we want to focus on. For instance, on Tuesday is going to be the health and youth and respect for the environment. So the first half of the segment, they get to see all scholars once again who are in the medical field, who will come in and give their health advice, their health tips. And then the second half of that session, they're going to be exposed to a virtual challenge where they're going to do things around school pride, building a school pride and seeking to get to know the school better and what it has done for our country.
Absolutely. Then I see on Wednesday you're having Media Day. Is this where Cassandra comes into play, on Media Day?
Oh, the list is extremely long. We have a wide range of world scholars. And what happens on Media Day is that our students get to see clips and all forms of media that show them the possibilities once they're fully engaged and they seek to do their best here at LSD. So we have past teachers, we have current teachers, we have policemen, we have doctors, you name it, the list is too wide for me to go through all.
And that's good because, I mean, even the most recent public advisor on COVID-19 himself, being a past student and being a past head boy of the LSD school, a lot to celebrate. And certainly all week long, those people, those prominent past students of the LSD school will be featured and they're lending and giving back to their school as well. Then on Thursday is Heritage Thursday. How is that? What's that about and how is it played out?
Very good, thank you. Heritage Day is a big thing for us, a mini highlight of the whole week. And on Thursday, what we have a special interview with the pioneer of the LZ Fort Corral. And that is with Miss McGarry, Mrs. McGarry, sorry. And what's going to happen, we're going to have an interview and we're going to feature some of the prominent pieces that she would have helped design, create, etc., which was being written into Barbados history. And I know CBC from time to time would actually show some pieces of the LZ Fort Corral. So once again, just keeping with our tradition.
One outstanding Fort Corral indeed that emerged, past students of the LSD school coming together and lending voice, telling the story through folk. Then Motivational Fridays, a chance for the students at the LSD school again to be exposed. What's happening on Friday?
Well, on Friday, we want to sum up the week, and we have two past students who are also pastors at this current stage of their life. And they're going to be sharing some spiritual as well as motivational advice once again. And notice that I said that we started our week with church because we understand the importance of having God in our life. He's the start, he's going to be definitely the end. So that sums our week up in the most exciting and profound way with God.
Tell us then, all past students, how can they now join in the celebration? On what platform will they be coming? How can they engage?
Well, we've taken, we were just discussing it last night, and we're saying we're going to use our website, but we're going to offer them the opportunity to come in during those live sessions, and the technology allows us to do that. And this is not our first time, like I said. We've been around online since 2016, so we're well geared and we're well ready. So I want to encourage all of them to come into those links and enjoy the presentations along with the students, because like I said, it's a case of building lasting bridges. It's not only for the current students, it's not only for the current parents and staff, it's for the past ones as well, it's for the public. So our school website, our Instagram page, our Facebook page, they all give you the ability to come in and celebrate with us.
What is that website?
Our website is the LSDschoolbb.org.
So we have to do it, the LSDschoolbb.org is the website.
No, once you put in LSDschoolbb.org, the technology is going to take you right there, and that's the beautiful thing about technology. It helps us out.
That's right. LSD School BB. Go on and search for it and engage from there. So every day, what time of day until what time of day would you be online?
Well, students are engaged from 9 till 10. but the website is continuous for the week. So those things are going to be there for the whole week. So as they occur, if you miss that session, you can go on later in the day and pull that up. And we're probably going to run that for the entire month, that anyone who missed, once they want to view, they can go in and be a part of the activities for this week.
Well, it sounds well thought through, well thought out, well planned indeed. So Akeem Griffith, a teacher at the Ellerslie School, thank you for joining us this morning to talk to us a little bit about how the Ellerslie School is marking Founders Week this week. All online, ellersleschoolbb.org is the website, and you can go onto the Instagram or the Facebook pages and see the activities, engage with the activities for not just present students, past students as well, as they build lasting bridges. That's the whole idea, celebrating the 55th anniversary of the Ellerslie School. Thank you so much, Mr. Griffith.
Thank you as well for having me.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Spot on, 21 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. It is National Youth Week. That's what's happening this week, hosted by the Division of Youth Affairs. And joining us to talk a little bit about what's on the calendar for National Youth Week are Adriana Waith, who is a Youth Program Assistant, and Corey Marshall, Youth Commissioner. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning. Hey, good morning, Pearson. Morning, Barbados.
Thank you so much for joining us. You guys have your work cut out for you this week, because we have thousands of young people who want to engage in all of the activities for National Youth Week. So give us the overarching theme and then walk us through day by day how this National Youth Week this week is going to play out. Who's going to do so?
Okay, I guess I will start. First of all, today marks the launch of Youth Week, so I would like to take this opportunity to wish all the young persons and persons young at heart like myself a very happy and enjoyable National Youth Week. National Youth Week will be celebrated between the 27th of September and the 3rd of October this year. And the theme for National Youth Week will be using the same theme for Caribbean Youth Day, which is Building Resilience, COVID-19, Mental Health, and Caribbean Development. So we'll be operating under that theme. We would give a breakdown of all of the activities for the week, but just to give some background, first on the department and then on how National Youth Week was first conceptualized. The Division of Youth Affairs, we were established back in 1995 as a mechanism to facilitate the needs and aspirations of all young persons here in Barbados. We started initially with 3 departments: the Youth Development Program, the Barbados Youth Service, which is now the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps, and the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme. Then realizing the changing needs of young persons, we had 2 sub-programs, which are the Next Step Initiative and the Pathways Employability Program. So coming out of this, realizing the need for a dedicated space for youth on the national calendar, the National Youth Week was then conceptualized to create a platform to promote youth engagement and youth empowerment. So at this time, I will let Ms. Waith come in and she will speak more to the components of National Youth Week.
Adriana?
Hello, thank you. So yes, as Corey would have highlighted, we are touching mainly on COVID-19, building resilience, mental health, and Caribbean development. So we have a team, a more defined team, uplifting youth for a brighter future. And we would have conceptualized a series of activities hoping to engage the youth of Barbados in these activities, which will propel their development and by extension, propel the career development. So Monday the 27th, which is today, we're launching the Tools to Thrive School Outreach campaign, and that will be hosted virtually in the public secondary schools. And that is targeting the fifth form students, and we're hoping to aid in their transition from an adolescent to an adult, make that transition a bit better or easier for them. So we're going to touch on topics such as self-care, self-awareness, self-discipline, because we know that once you are better able to regulate yourself, you make better decisions about your future. And we're hoping that when these individuals are making a decision to either further their studies at UWI, BCC, SJPI, and even the Barbados Vocational Training Board, that they have a sound mind and sense of self. We're also going to look at yoga and meditation and how nutrition and fitness plays a vital role not only to physical health but also to mental health.
So this is today for those in formal school who are going to be online at school. This today is for them in this transition, this whole transition program. So you're launching the Tools to Thrive School Outreach. I like that. So that's today. So for those who are not in school, what are you going to be doing? They're young still.
Yeah, well, the other activities are more dedicated towards the persons not in school.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're focusing mainly on the school to begin with those students, and then the other activities will be able to touch to the youth organizations, the youth groups, persons that may be working, and so on. We have a myriad of activities that are targeting various groups. So this particular one is for the students.
School. So tomorrow now you're having Youth Volunteer Day. This is so critical. What's happening tomorrow and how can people volunteer?
Okay, I think I will
Corey will
take this
touch on
one.
that for a bit, yeah.
Yes, Corey.
Okay, so Youth Volunteer Day. I think that volunteerism and civic mindedness, being our brother's keeper, has for centuries been the bedrock of community life in Barbados, and we want to continue on that trend. So we'll be encouraging all youth groups. It does not just need to be youth groups, charities, any organizations, schools, the blocks, whatever your organization is. We want you to participate in the act of volunteerism. And we actually have a competition going where you can share this on our page. You can email this to us at division.youth@barbados.gov.bb or david.denny@barbados.gov.bb. So the process is you participate in the act of volunteerism. You either take a still shot or a video and you email it to us. That would be the first step. And then after that, you post it on your page and tag us at DivYouth246 on Instagram or Division of Youth Affairs on Facebook. And the winner, we will make a contribution to your organization so you can further the good work that you are doing. So whichever is the organization, the youth group, it would not be seen as a prize money, but more so a contribution to further the good work that the young persons out there are already doing in terms of volunteerism.
And that's so important. We don't want this to say as a, hey, you're trying to earn some money. You actually want to give back in a very significant way by volunteering your skills, by volunteering your services and your time to assist, whether it's the elderly, whether it's someone else in your community, whether it's another organization, but volunteer to do something, giving back to our community. So we encourage you, whether it's the group or the young or the individual, to do all of that. And remember, you can submit your video or your still photographs to division.youth@barbados.gov.bb or david.denny@barbados.gov.bb on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I want to see all your people everywhere doing some voluntary work. I think that's going to be so beautiful to behold. Then on Wednesday, you're having Get Hired. What's that about?
Yes, the Get Hired initiative. This is an employability program, one of the more popular programs of our department. I just want to mention that is an employability program and not an employment program. Is where the Division of Affairs, we partner with the Princess Trust International UK, and we create employment opportunities for young persons. So it's a 2-day process. The first day, we bring them in. the ministry, and we do some training with them, some life skills training, as well as giving them the core functions to make themselves marketable in the job market. So we teach them how to, well, not teach them because we expect them to come ready with their CV, but we go through the CV with them and the resume. And then on the second day, we bring in prospective employers, and they actually go through a full interview process. And once they successfully navigate that process, they gain job attachment for a period of 1 to 3 months at these organizations. So just to reinforce, is not a case that you definitely get a job once you enter this program. We take you to the door, but you need to go through the door by yourself. So we take you, we give you the tools to function in the interview, and then you go into the interview. And once you successfully navigate the interview, then there's a possibility that you get a training, a job attachment opportunity, and most persons get the opportunity to stay on at these organizations as well.
Now I'm going to fly through this because time is really getting away from us today. So on Thursday you're having Social Media Takeover, which will be a youth-led campaign focusing on youth issues. Also then on Friday, Uplifting Our Stars, it's right there on your screens, mothers, fathers, young people, a celebration of youth achievements in Barbados. And then on Saturday the 2nd, you're launching Listen Up Accord. Who's going to tell me about that?
About Listen Up Accord, that would be me again, but
I
would like to give Adriana the opportunity to touch the two before Listen Up Accord, which would be the social media takeover.
Very quickly, very briefly.
Yes, very, very quickly.
Okay, so the social media takeover is actually held on September 30th, and that is for Caribbean Youth Day. And what Corey would have stated earlier is that the theme for that day is actually building resilience, mental health, COVID-19, and Caribbean development. And we are actually posting videos and photos from youth leaders or youth within the community that are highlighting issues or concerns that are facing the youth that are actually undermining the Caribbean development, in the hopes of starting the conversations and propelling the conversations to actually get us further in our development.
And then on Friday?
Yes, Uplifting Our Stars on Friday, that is actually where we highlight the individuals who would have passed through the various programs of the Ministry of Youth, and they're actually in leadership roles or playing a vital role in organizations and communities. So we just want to highlight their ambitions and the work that they are doing and commend them basically for the job well done.
And now quickly to you too, Corey. Quickly tell me about the launch of Listen Up.
Very quick. Listen Up Accord is a platform where we give youth the opportunity to weigh in on the national discourse on issues affecting them. So for the first one, for the pilot program, we'll be looking at life after incarceration, where we look at creating opportunities and reintegrating young persons into mainstream society, ex-offenders after they pass through the judicial system. So that is what Listen Up Accord is all about. I just want to take this opportunity to say that we are very pleased to be partnering with CBC for this particular initiative again. And they have come on board, willingly come on board to partner with us with the anti-violence campaign, which was launched by our Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, the Honorable Dwight Sutherland, back on June 12th. You remember that? So CBC have come on board to partner with us, and we have a lot of exciting activities. I don't want to touch on all of them now, but we have a parenting program. We have
can't touch on all of them now, Corey.
Right,
you can't touch on any of them now, Corey. But what I can say to folks is you can see more information, get more information at Div Youth 246 on Instagram, Div Youth 246, or go on to the Division of Youth Affairs on Facebook, and you can read up and see more of the schedule of activities. Gotta leave it there. Thank you, both of you. Adriana Waith and Corey Marshall with the Division of Youth Affairs National Youth Week this week. Let's all young people get involved. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Thanks for calling Maurice. Okay guys, so we just got a call. A person said that there's a iguana over in their yard. Alright, so this is what we do. We tell persons if they come in contact with any wildlife to give us a call here at Maurice Sanctuary 259-2024. Alright, so I'm going to monk up. We got Joshua at work today. We're going to monk up our team. We're going to head over there to recover that iguana from that frantic call. You guys ready to go? Let's go. Alright guys, so we are here now at the location. We're going to try to see if we get this iguana, and we're going to keep you guys updated. Alright, so guys, yeah, this is the iguana right here in a tree. We try not to startle him too much because it's hot now, and when it's hot, they're actually very active. Alright, so we're going to get him secured and removed from the property. Alright, so if we can get close up. Okay, great. So we will get her home over to the sanctuary. Alright, so we actually here.
Ryan Innes is the owner of the Marizara Sanctuary. Ryan, good morning.
Very pleasant. Good morning to you as well. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. That thing made my skin crawl just watching it. I was here cringing at the mere sight of it. And I could well imagine many Barbadians having the same kind of physical reaction that I've had as well. Normal for you, right?
It's true, right? Because I remember as soon as we posted that video, that went viral, and lots of persons like, "Whoa, that is actually in Barbados." So yes, it was in Barbados, guys.
You have no fear. You're clearly, you have absolutely no fear of these things.
Well, no. No, person.
The important thing here, though, is that if we see any of these creatures, these wild, whether it is the iguana, as big as that big lizard is, or any other crawly things and no names mentioned, you know, we should call you because you can safely recover them for us.
Yes, we would try, because sometimes it's not always a easy fix like how that video went. Sometimes we got to do going through lots of different types of terrain and that type of stuff. So that video that you guys saw earlier, that was a quick fix, get in, get out kind of situation back then that you saw.
And a lot of this is happening because what? We don't have a natural habitat for that here. So what are they doing here? And then what do you do with them?
All right. Well, when we come over to, if we get any calls and we come over to the location, as long as that animal is secured, it would be brought back to the sanctuary. It would be kept in quarantine for a few days. Make sure it doesn't have any diseases, any infestation of ticks, or that type of stuff. And then it would be brought into our animal exhibits here at the sanctuary, where it would be rehabilitated, it would be introduced, because as long as it's brought here to the sanctuary, it will probably not be released back into the into the wild. So what may happen if that we can find a suitable home, and I put the word suitable in inverted commas, if we can find a suitable home, that animal may be rehomed.
I would like you to keep them all. Quite frankly, keep them away from, I'm being very serious.
Pearson, we would love to keep them all. We would love to keep them all. But the space, we are actually running out of space. And that's why I'm appealing to anybody out there who can help us here at the Murray Zero Sanctuary. Please, the space is getting too small. We need to now move out of this environment into a bigger space if we need to save the animals.
And we do. I know there's a place for everything on this earth. God created us all. And so we need to be able to coexist and find a safe way in which to do so. So for anyone watching this morning who has either the space or who has the challenge with some insect animals, something around them that they are very uncomfortable with, what number can they call for you to come help them rescue that?
All right, at any time of the night or day, you can call 259-2024. I will give you that number again, 259-2024. At any time of the day or night that you come in contact with a wild animal, an exotic animal preferably, you can give us a call. We will come over. We would appreciate if you would at least keep that animal in your sight before leaving. Again, some things that we will eventually pay you for, just to make sure that that animal does not stay in the ecosystem of Barbados, which is not wanted.
Yes, 259-2024. I'm going to learn that number, because if I ever stumble across anything, if we're calling you, Ryan Innes. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Sorry that time was so short with us. We need to connect on another occasion so we can have further discussion on how we care for these kinds of things. Thank you for joining us today.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Pearson.
You're very welcome. That's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Be it God's will, we'll catch you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.